Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have our breakdown of the FanDuel slate for 10/4/2022. This is a 8-game slate here on FanDuel. It's actually a 9-game slate on DraftKings, so just be aware, because they're not including the New York Yankees and Texas game in this particular slate on FanDuel, so you're not going to have those players. But we still have some good options here. We have actually several stackable teams. Tampa Bay, the LA Angels, a few guys on that team. The Dodgers, Baltimore, and Toronto are all in stackable situations. And then you could even take a look at Boston's left-handed hitters. But overall, we have some pretty good options at pitcher as well. On FanDuel, it seems a little bit easier than it does on DraftKings simply because of the way scoring is. Basically, we have two guys, really three guys that look really good here on FanDuel, and obviously, just because it's near the end of the season and the playoffs are basically set, you do have to make sure that guys are not going to be sitting, or pitching with pitch counts, because they're getting prepared for the playoffs or even just the season being over. So you do have to check those things out about an hour before the slate starts. But overall, we have some good options here, so let's go and get into those. So my top option is on FanDuel is Zach Gallen. Now he's got 50-point upside here, and he's been extremely consistent lately. He's only had a couple games under 40 fantasy points recently, and that was like a 22-point game against San Diego, and then a couple others. But against Milwaukee this season, he had a 52-point game the last time, and he's been pitching pretty deep into the games for the most part here. And you can see that he's getting some wins, and he's getting quality starts in just about every game. And he's really not giving up many earned runs either. And so that all just bodes well. Plus, he's getting lots of strikeouts, which is very nice. He does have a little bit of risk because Milwaukee is actually a kind of decent team. But overall, he's in a really good spot here. And he's pitching quite well as of late. This game is also at Milwaukee, which helps him a little bit as well. So I do like him in this situation. The other guy that I think that's in a really good spot here is Julio Urias for the Dodgers. Now he's about the same price as Gallen, and I think he doesn't have quite as much upside, but he has the same upside when it comes to the quality starts and wins. He's been getting a lot of those, and he's not giving up a lot of runs. His only real downside here is that he doesn't get as many strikeouts as Gallen does, but he has 40-point upside here as well. He's played Colorado 4 times this season. 37, 46, 28, and -3. Now keep in mind that the 3 lower scores there were at Colorado, which is significantly harder for pitchers. This game's in the LA Dodgers. In the one game there, he had 46 fantasy points against them. And Colorado, frankly, just isn't very good other than when they're at home. And so this is a good game for him in this particular matchup. Now I do like Gallen better than Urias, but I still think they're viable. Then I've got one other guy I'm going to mention here on FanDuel, and that is going to be Michael Lorenzen. Oops, where'd he go? So Michael Lorenzen is pitching against Oakland. Now you could say, well, why do you like him today? Because look at his ERA, 4.52. He is cheap, though, so that does help. But, what is it about him? Okay, well, he's pitched in 3 games against Oakland this season, and he's got 45, 43, and 37 fantasy points. He's been pretty terrible against everybody else, and you can look through the schedule, and he's got a lot of, 15, 20-point games here, and even some negative ones. But against Oakland, he has been rock solid in 3 starts against them, 37, 43 there, and then the 45-point game. He's got, I think, 15 strikeouts in those 3 games combined. Obviously, the last one he had 8, which is a little bit high for him. So he's not a huge strikeout guy, but if he can get 5 strikeouts and not really give up any earned runs, which he definitely has capability to do here, he's given up 1 earned run against Oakland in those 3 games, and he's pitched deep into 2 of those. He's had quality starts and wins in 2 of the 3, and he's won all 3 games. And he really just hasn't given up many hits in those 3 games either. He's given up, I think, 11 total hits in those 3 games. So he's a good value option. He's very risky because obviously he's not a very good pitcher. But overall, he's in a good spot. He's pitched well against Oakland this season, and so that gives him some upside on this particular matchup. So if you're just desperate to save money, he's definitely going to be the guy to do it with. Otherwise, you're going to want to pick between Gallen or Urias, most likely. Verlander and Rodon are both pitching as well. they have a little bit tougher matchups, and their floors, their upside is a little bit higher, or sorry, a little bit lower than Gallen and Urias, and I think that Gallen and Urias are a little bit safer than those two. They both have the capability of getting 40 points in their matchups, but overall, I just think Gallen and Urias are better options. Luis Giolito is also pitching for Chicago White Sox, but he's kind of in the same boat as Verlander. His ceiling is a little bit high, or a little bit lower than Gallen and Rodon are. So with that said, let's go and get into the batters that we like today. So at catcher and first base, my top option here is Freddie Freeman. Now he didn't do good yesterday, which is disappointing. Colorado really has done a good job of yesterday, but obviously we have 4-game series here against Colorado, or 3-game series I think against Colorado. So he's gonna have another opportunity to have a good game here, and he's been good against Colorado this season. He's just had 2 games in a row where he didn't do well. But I still think he's a top option on the slate. This is also the worst pitcher that Colorado has pitched really this week, I think, against him, which is Feltner, and he has been completely terrible against everybody. So I really do like him in this situation here. Vlad Guerrero Jr., obviously, he's averaging almost 12 fantasy points a game. He's having some really solid games lately. He had a home run in his last game, and I look for him to have the opportunity to hit another one here. Nice plus matchup for him against Bauman, who probably won't last very long in the game itself. Then we're going to look at Will Smith, another guy for the Dodgers. Now, I actually kind of think that Austin Barnes might end up playing in this one, and if Austin Barnes plays, then he's definitely a better option than Will Smith. But overall, he's been hitting the ball pretty well. But again, in the last 2 games against Colorado, it's been a little bit of a mess for the Dodgers. Then we got Christian Walker for Arizona. He is in a really good spot here. He's been hitting the ball pretty well lately, having hits in just about every game for the last 10. I think he had 2 games where he didn't have a hit in the last 10, and he's just pretty consistent. And I think that if anybody's going to get to Eric Lyer, who's pitching for Milwaukee, it's definitely going to be him. And this is not a bad park for him to hit in as well either. At second base, we have a couple more options here, and they're actually a little bit more value options. But the first guy is Altuve, who's averaging almost 12.5 fantasy points a game. He's been very boom or bust lately, but he's a home run threat every time he comes up to bat, and he's playing quite well as the season's winding down here. Max Muncy for the Dodgers is averaging about 10 fantasy points a game. Oh, I actually have this wrong here. Let me check that. Okay, yeah. But he's obviously a very boom or bust situation. He does need to hit a home run to pay off, but his price is cheap enough that you can afford to risk it some. He has been getting some hits the last couple of games, but he's getting walked a lot, which is giving him fantasy points. And he has some runs and stuff scored as well. So his floor is actually a little bit higher than even though he hasn't been getting a lot of hits, and his batting average is terrible. The next guy is Wilmer Flores for San Francisco. Against Sean Manaea. Man, I remember when Sean Manaea was really good, but he's been absolutely terrible this season. So Wilmer Flores is in a situation where he's going to be able to take advantage of that. Has a great matchup for him. He's also been really good against Manaea in his career. Estrada is another guy I like here for San Francisco. He's kind of in the same boat as Flores. He's had a really good career, or decent career, I guess, really against Manaea. And he's been hitting the ball pretty well lately. Not as consistent as some other guys, but he is getting on base quite a bit. So we do like him as well. And then finally, Whit Merrifield for Toronto. My goodness, this dude has been solid lately, having some really big games. And he's been getting hits in literally almost every game for a while. And I really like him. And his price is almost too cheap for his production. Then we're going to look at third base, Alex Bregman. Now, he hasn't been hitting the ball quite as well as we'd like. But he does have home run upside, and he has, potential to get some really good games. Now, the really big risk here is that a lot of times, the last couple games, Houston has been pulling some guys, and so you do have to be aware of that if you choose to roster him. Max Muncy, I already mentioned him, actually, and then Justin Turner, he's in a good spot here for the Dodgers as well. Oops, I hit Verlander on accident. Now, Turner he's been playing hit and miss a couple games, and he hasn't been getting big scores in these last few games, but he does have the capability here, and he does need to start getting going again. He just came back from an injury not too long ago. He took like a week off, and so he just needs to get back to doing what he was doing, and so he's going to have to play a little bit down the stretch while he's getting prepared for the playoffs. And then, of course, I already mentioned Wilma Flores here. At shortstop, we have Trey Turner for the Dodgers. Now, he's averaging a very boomer bust situation here, averaging around 10 fantasy points a game. But he does have home run potential in this matchup, and so I do think he's in a good spot. Bo Bichette for Toronto is in a great spot here. I really like him. His price is high, obviously, on both sites, but I do think he's in a good spot here with the home run potential, and he's been pretty consistent at hitting the ball lately. Then we're going to look at Wander Franco. Wander Franco, probably one of my favorite value options at $3,100. He's just been having some really massive games, and he's even getting hits in the games where he's not having super massive games, so he's not completely killing you if you choose to roster him. And then finally, Jeremy Pena. He's been pretty solid lately. He has been pretty boomer bust though, but I do think he's in a good spot here, and he is hitting well for Houston. That said, he might be another guy that doesn't play the entire game, so you do have to be aware of that. That's also just a risk for most all the players, to be honest, with only a couple games left in the season. So, in the outfield, we do have Mookie Betts for the Dodgers. Now, he has been very boomer bust, but he had 5 games in a row where he had at least 9 fantasy points, and I think he can potentially continue to do that again, and so I like him in this matchup. Then we have George Springer, who's been really solid lately, averaging 15.5 fantasy points a game. He's probably one of my favorite plays of the day when it comes to home run threats, and he's just having some really massive games, and he's been pretty consistent as well. Austin Slater hasn't been that good lately, but his price is literally minimum priced, and he's starting to get going the last few games, and so I look for him to have an opportunity here if he starts to have a good game. Arozarena is a guy I like here against Boston. Now, obviously, this situation here is not ideal because of the weather, but if he does play, he has home run potential here. He's been very boomer bust lately, but he has a good matchup, and so he is somebody to take a look at. Trace Thompson, he has been hitting the ball extremely well lately, and he should definitely be playing throughout these games simply because he's a younger guy, and that's going to be more. It's better to use these guys down the stretch than some of the older guys. Then Ohtani for the Angels, he has just a great matchup here against pitcher Cole Irvin, and he's been having some pretty good games. He hasn't had any massive games lately, but he does have potential for that, and if he can hit a home run, then he'll have a massive game, which he hasn't hit in a while, but this is a great spot for him to potentially hit it. Then we look at Eloy Jimenez for the Chicago White Sox. Now he's averaging about 8 fantasy points a game. He's been kind of boomer bust lately after having a nice big old streak of really great games, but he's in a really nice plus matchup here, and so I do like him in this matchup. Cedric Mullins for Baltimore is in a great spot here, and his price is pretty fair for his production. And I really like him in this matchup in order to have a solid game against Toronto pitching, and he's just been really good lately, and so that's what we like. And then finally, last but not least, Teoscar Hernandez, who, if you rostered him yesterday, you would have been happy with his 9.2 fantasy points. And today, again, his price is just way too cheap for his production. He's been having some absolutely massive games, and he's been really solid out most of the season. So I really like him. He's my favorite player on the slate on the day, especially because of his price point of $2,900. So that's what I got on the FanDuel lineup. I think we got a really solid lineup here. Obviously, we have a smaller slate than we normally have at this time, but we only have a couple games left in the season, so we've got to take what we can get. Pitching looks really good on FanDuel. It looks a lot rougher on DraftKings. Obviously, the DraftKings video will come up here shortly after this video uploads. So with that said, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, really do appreciate it. Make sure to comment below if you have any comments or questions, and have a nice day, guys.